for a new series called Hey, It's Your Money. Episode 1 could be a demo of Gibson tone polish.
Not a bad idea. If that's a series you would like to see on the show where we kind of take a look at big wastes of money as far as guitar and recording gear is concerned, maybe we could do that and then offer, some affordable alternatives or better ideas. I like the name of that. Hey, It's Your Money. If you guys want to see that show, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, it is Friday. Welcome back to another exciting episode of SMG Viewers Comments, the show that's about you, not about me. So let's get to your comments and questions right now.
Your ears are not sophisticated enough to tell the difference. Or how to sell $2,000 cables to idiots.
Yeah, you know what? I think the phrase "a fool and his money are soon parted" came along long before, the recording industry came along, but it still rings true very much to this day. Guys, just remember, a lot of people just want to take your money. Try and be an informed consumer. I'll do what I can to help.
As a sound engineer, I want to thank you on behalf of every sound engineer in the entire world when they're asked about pickup tone. We just don't have an opinion other than just fucking plug it in and see what happens. Whether it's live or in the studio, if shit's coming into the console, shit will eventually come out of the console, and vice versa. That's it. Again, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely welcome about that. I remember having that discussion with a guitar player once upon a time in my early days. He's like, well, I want to use a guitar because it sounds more hardcore. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? You plug the guitar in, guess what? It sounded the same as the other one. Why? Because we're using a high gain tone. Yeah, guys, seriously, when you come into the studio, I don't give a shit about what pickups you're using. All I want to know is your guitar in tune, and will it stay in tune? And if it won't stay in tune, let's grab a guitar that will stay in tune and work on getting a performance. Fuck your pickups.
License SMG speaker cabinet to Behringer and just have them put whatever speakers in that trash cabinet you ended up loving.
Oh, you're talking about the idea for an SMG branded speaker cabinet. Hey, you know what? That actually wound up being a really good cabinet, that piece of shit Behringer cabinet. Because as it turns out, it's not the material of the cabinet that's made out of, it's the geometry that really counts. And that cabinet happened to have some great geometry, which allowed us to get some really great sounds. I mean, I learned that very interesting because I pulled we wound up putting some Slush and Neo creambacks into that cabinet. It just sounded magnificent. So much better than the cheap Jensens that it originally shipped with. Quality speakers make all the difference. But I found something really interesting when I took the speakers out of that cabinet and moved it into a much more expensive cabinet. It didn't sound anywhere nearly as good because it was using different geometry. So there is something to that, that's for sure. If you check out Jim Lill's video on speaker cabinet construction, he'll verify that as well. It all really comes down to the size of the cabinet and the angles of the baffle and all that kind of shit. It's much less about the woods. And as far as cabinets are concerned, if you have tone wood in your cabinet, that's a really bad thing because that means you're going to get a resonant peak, and that's a big no-no.
Compare an EMG 707 to an EMG 817 and tell me there's not a significant difference. I know this to be fact, as I literally just did this last night. Same guitar, same strings, I just slacked them off, but barely enough to be able to swap the pups. Same settings, of course, etc. I assure you, it was night and day.
Did the Easter Bunny run off with your A-B comparison?
God damn it, fuck you, Glenn. Now I gotta redo the whole fucking thing and make a video. Double fuck you, Glenn. Lol.
I love that. I assure you there was a difference. Yes, and I assure you that Santa Claus is real. Hold on, didn't we just debunk that last week? Anyway, point being is, don't assure me. Make A-B recordings and make sure you don't change your amp settings or your mic settings or any of that shit and play the same fucking riff the same way. That's the hilarious thing. You can hear a difference, great. I'll bet you the difference is about that big. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I did that video where we shot out 10 different guitars, all with the same amp setting, and the difference was about that big. And I asked you guys, straight up, is that worth the expense? And most of you guys, maybe a couple of you guys disagreed, but the general consensus was no, that big of a tone shift is not worth the added expense. So, epic metalness, my suggestion would be the next time you make bold claims about massive shifts in tone, back your words up with actual verifiable evidence, because until then, I'm calling bullshit!
Glenn is such an asshole with his trickery, but it's why we love him and I got a good laugh at him. Thank you for myth-busting the importance of pickups. I guess the TLDR is pickup sound position has far more impact on tone than what it's made out of, and it only makes sense to swap pickups if the same type if something is broken or noisy.
Why, yes, that's absolutely true, and it's doubly more so if you're playing with any kind of gain on your signal. Single coils versus humbuckers, sure. Anything beyond that is just pure marketing smokescreen. Be smart, save your money, get speakers instead.
Spectre Sound Studios, with an ear as finely tuned as mine, it's easy to hear the difference. I should have specified I was speaking of clean tones, although the magnet seems to make a difference in the bridge position with distortion, but this is all extremely subtle, but there is a difference.
Agreed, there is a difference. The question is it worth the expense of making that difference compared to what you'll get with far less expensive and less intrusive ways of dealing with things? Swapping pickups out, unless you've got a hot swappable pickup guitar like that Cream Tea I demoed there a few weeks back, it can usually be a pretty big undertaking. And, you know, pickups are about, what, $100, $150 each, something like that, depending on what you get. Is it worth the expense? You're really going to get that kind of a difference? Whereas, you know, you can change its speaker out for kind of the same price and get some massive differences and truly alter your tone in some pretty incredible ways. Again, you know, for me, it's not worth it. For you, it might be. Get well soon. Hey guys, do you want the ultimate metal pedal for your rig? Of course you do. That's why you're here on this channel, Spectre Sound Studios. You'll want to learn how to get the awesome metal tones. And one of the best ways to get an awesome metal tone is use one of these. This is the Northern MAULER, and I managed to get this mix using this pedal. Now this combines awesome rev style distortion with the legendary Swedish chainsaw and gives us a very cool blend control, and we can dial it in to absolute perfection. This is an amazing pedal designed right here in Canada by Rev Amplification based on a few of my suggestions, and I'm very proud of the result we got. You can check it out over at smgpedals.com. Links in the description below. Now it's time for the Butthurt of the Week.
Pickups are not equalizers. Well, look at what the test eventually proved. After wearing us with multiple bait and switch games and adding caveat that his claim only applies to heavily distorted metal tones, the differences are still discernible, no matter how much he shows that there's no difference.
At what point in my pickup swap video did I say there was no difference? Please show me the timestamp where I said that. I love it when people put words into my mouth. They get mad about things I didn't actually fucking say. Hey, Elmo, here's an idea. Fucking pay attention. I didn't say there was no difference. I said there was a very small difference, and I'm wondering if it's actually worth it to go to all that trouble. Did I fucking stutter during that part? You know, did you hit the mute button? I can't understand why somebody as smart as you might have fucking missed that small little fact. Now, I did say pickups are not equalizers, and I want to make a correction on that. What I should have said is pickups are really shitty equalizers. Here, let me go to the Sound on Sound website here for a second here, and I'm going to have a fucking quote here for you. Because, yes, they do have what's called a resonant peak, but that only happens once per pickup. So we go over to Sound on Sound here, and it's got a guide to magnetic pickups. And if we hit there, this is the quote I wanted to put on. The resonant frequency of a pickup typically lies in the 2.5 to 4.5 kilohertz region, and the higher the Q, the more noticeable the coloration. In most cases, the peak is only a couple of decibels, but in combination with the natural high-cut filtering of the coil and the magnetic aperture effect, it's enough to give the pickup a distinct tonal character. Now, what Sound on Sound left out there is as soon as you apply gain to the amp, that fucking tonal character just goes right out the fucking window, as evidenced by my pickup swap video and my 10 guitar shootout video. Now, by way of comparison, a speaker is an incredibly complex and effective equalizer, but it is a fixed EQ. So everything we do to a guitar sound, whether it's changing the amp knobs or the guitar or whatnot, that all has to go through that incredibly complex EQ known as a speaker. And here's the insane thing about speakers. You can have peaks and valleys in the spectrum like 10 to 15 decibels. And that's from the same style of speaker. That can be like, you can have like 4 different vintage 30s in the same cabinet. They're all going to have different EQ curves. That's how crazy it gets when you get into speakers, because they're not all the same because of manufacturing tolerances. Now, this is the ultimate point I'm trying to get across, that pickups do indeed have slight variations, but in my opinion, it's a variation that's not worth the expense. Not when you can get far better results with the thing that the sound is actually coming out of.
I fucking love this shit. Keep tricking me. I need it. I need to save my money and write more songs.
Man, the comments from that pickup swap video just don't stop coming, that's for sure. Now, the whole idea wasn't to trick people. It was just to show what's happening there when we change out speakers and when we change out microphones and move the microphone around, as opposed to just moving a pickup. So, big differences versus little differences. But you're absolutely right. Most of us would probably benefit from just practicing and writing better songs.
Well, I understand a recording engineer's primary focus is on sonics, but we guitarists are vain, and sometimes pickups just look better and fit the style of a specific guitar.
Now, that just goes back to the old statement, guitar players listen with their eyes. It's absolutely true. And yes, pickups can look pretty damn cool. Ooh, shiny, that kind of stuff. As long as you know what you're buying a pickup for, that's absolutely fine. Just don't think you're going to put in a new set of pickups and your guitar is going to automatically sound a million times better, because it just doesn't work like that.
Glenn, plug that Soldano into your favorite 4x12, crank it up and play for a while. Experience it while you're standing right there in the room with that 4x12, and then ask yourself, can you replicate that experience with any fully digital amp product you have? Try that for comparison. I think you'd keep the Soldano. There's a degree of fun that comes from a real amp and cabinet combination that modelers just don't quite manage to fully duplicate.
You might be right there, you might not be. I mean, like, I did that video there last year called The Ultimate Small Gig Rig, and we did use a real cabinet. We used the Zilla 2x12, but we used this wonderful Seymour Duncan power stage, and then we ran a quad Cortex into this. And that was every much as fun as running a full-blown Soldano into a 4x12. It had the same kind of feel, and it did the thing. It doesn't matter if it's digital or analog. The idea of standing in front of a cabinet, that does do something. Now, I will say one thing though. Christian Vay's been wanting me to do this video for a little while, and I do need to do this, is are we losing something in our guitar sound when we're recording, say, having the guitar in the control room, the amp in here, and then the cabinet out in the next room, versus standing in front of the amp and having that speaker move the body of the guitar and ultimately the strings of the guitar, getting that feedbacky thing kind of going on. How much of a difference is that going to make to the guitar sound? That's one video I haven't made. That's one test I'd really like to make just to see exactly what we are losing by separating those two elements. There might be something to that for standing out in front of an amp. Does it benefit your tone in any way? I don't know. I haven't done that experiment, but I think that's going to make for a very fun video. I'm going to do that when I get back from my travels at the end of February. Should be a pretty interesting video. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do, so you get notified when that does happen.
Pickups make a difference if you really listen. Tone makes a difference if you really listen. If you have a good ear, you can tell the subtle differences between two manufacturers. Okay, let's say that some people with a great ear can pick out the subtleties. If 99.99999% of people listening to and making music cannot tell the difference between your $500 setup and your $10,000 setup, you've wasted $9,500 and a lot of time. Chasing perfect tone is just a masturbatory diversion from writing and practicing. Chasing tone in a nutshell. When are we gonna fucking record? Fim Fuego. Well, if Bride's away doing an album, Lulu, why don't we just drink a lot? Dennis. We've been in the studio since June and we haven't recorded anything! Good God, that's a bloody hell of a lot of time and hours we recorded nothing. I still maintain that we should pick up the guitars and play them.
Ah, yes, quotes from one of my favorite band, Bad News. I've got the shirt here. I'm going to wear this in next week's episode. But yeah, thanks for that. That is one of the funniest recordings ever made. And you know, that was made, what, the end of the 80s, early 90s, something like that. And they even argue about cows in Mongolia. It just goes to show that musicians will argue about anything just so they can be right. Yeah, I think you've got a great point about the whole chasing tone thing, though. It's true, you know, people with the discerning ear might be able to tell the difference, but for the rest of us mere mortals, it's just fucking bullshit. Be smart, people. Save your money.
So hilarious to listen to this from the context of my other expensive hobby, cycling/mountain bike, and substitute some key terms used in elitist nonsense. Great points about who the music is for.
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine how that would go. I mean, like, my brother's into cycling, and he's shown me some of his very expensive bikes, and I'm just like, ugh, is that really helping? I mean, like, as far as cycling is concerned, I think, you know, the less wind resistance you have, the more faster you're going to go. Hence, that's why I ride a recumbent. And it's like, if any of you guys really wanted to go fast, you know, you'd probably fucking just buy a velomobile and be done with it. But those are pretty rare because those would make sense because they just cut through the air like there's no tomorrow. And that's what you're basically putting all of your effort into, is just getting the air out of the way. Don't believe me? Ride into a headwind. That's another reason why I like riding recumbents, because when I go into a headwind, I just leave everybody in the dust. It's hilarious. Now, if you're an elitist, that's fine. You got the money to spend, that's fine too. What I'm making these videos for, I'm making these videos for like 19-year-old me when I didn't know half this shit. And I was trying to make some informed purchases, and I just got a lot of bad advice online. So I'm trying to help people to keep from making the same mistakes I did.
Could you bring out a whole bunch of IRs? There are some in which I really want to hear your take on it. In regards to your recent pickup video, there's some really who believes some can hear the difference in tonal change in pickups, I might add, which is total nonsense, more clear than others. Sure, some people can hear better, some can't, and really think they can hear stuff because they spent a whole lot of money on something shiny and new, like a crying wallet.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, purchase validation is a great big thing here on YouTube, and when I make videos that basically say, you might have wasted your money here, that tends to piss people off a little bit. But I'm trying to fucking help the person who hasn't made the purchase yet and try and give them a little bit of knowledge that they can apply to their own situation. Now, as for the impulse response thing, yes, something will be coming out at the end of the month. We've been working on this one at Spectre Digital for a number of years, and it's almost complete. We're just trying to get all our I's dotted and T's crossed and all the rest of that stuff. But as far as impulse responses go, it's going to be pretty fucking cool. That's as much as I can say at the time of shooting this. Hopefully at the end of February, we're going to have an announcement, and I hope you guys are going to like what it is. But let's just put it this way. All the cabinets I've got out in my other room there, yes, they are going to be involved. And if you've tried out my free impulse responses I'm putting out over the last couple months, you know what you're going to be getting. It's going to be pretty damn cool. And if you haven't grabbed that already, links in the description below.
Want to know a secret? There's nothing you can do with your tone that will make anyone notice you. Focus on writing great music and worry about the fine details when you make it past a local gig.
Dude, that's got to be one of the wisest comments I've ever seen on the show. You know, for the amount we obsess about tone, it's like, hold on a second here. Nobody gives a fuck about you at this point because nobody knows who the fuck you are. Go write an interesting song, something somebody's going to want to sing more than once, or something somebody's going to want to listen to more than once. Then worry about your fucking tone. You know, as a recording engineer, I'm obsessed about tone because it's my job to get the bands the sounds that they want when they walk in here, and I don't want to waste their fucking time. So that's why I go to all this time and expense and make all these science experiments. So I know, and so I'm armed with the knowledge that I need to help make the clients happy. You know, if you're not running a home studio, that's absolutely fine. But if you're recording at home, hopefully what I'm doing here is rubbing off and helping you achieve the sounds you're after. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode of SMG Viewers Comments. Once again, please hit the subscribe button and all that good stuff because it would really help me get to 500,000 or just a little bit past. I need your help to make that happen, so if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, that's it for this week. Please keep those comments and questions coming because I love hearing from you guys. I really and truly do. Good comments, bad comments, it doesn't fucking matter. If I find them interesting, I'll put them on the show. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time, and until then, let's make some great music together.